Hear ye, hear ye, this is Lord Potato, and this is What If Asta Had Serpent Magic, Part 2. Not Part 2, Part 4, okay? I fucked that up. No, it's not Part 2, it's Part 4, okay? Now, let me go into this What If, and let me shut up for a second. But, what's it called? Is it Part 4 or is it Part 2? I can't remember now. But not the point. I think it is Part 4. Yeah. But, not the point. Let me first say one thing. I am going back to school tomorrow. There's no going to be streaming, uploading, or other of that stuff at like 5 p.m. in the afternoon until I get out of school at like 10 p.m. which I'm going to be driving in the dark. I haven't actually done that. Experience driving in the dark is me wanting to not want to do that, okay? But that's not the point. Now, I am going to try to upload videos in the morning before like the afternoon, before like 5 o'clock. Every single day. If I can't, maybe I can upload only one video either in my first channel, which this is my first channel, or my second channel. My second channel is just going to be containing story times, video games, anything. If I just get bored one day from my what ifs, I'm going to just upload gaming videos in my second channel. And if you don't know what my second channel is, link is not going to be in the description because I haven't actually put the links in the description because how lazy I have become for a while and how nervous I am. But yeah, not the point. Now, let me go into this what if and let me shut up. But yeah, we go into Asta being nowhere. But we go fast. So, we go into Asta being in the void. But we go fast forward. We go into, well, the royal... Sorry, my voice just decided to fucked up at the end. But let me go back into it. So we go into the Royal Magic Knights. So, of course, Yuno still became a Royal Knight because he actually won the whole kind of, like, exam thing. He still kind of showed out his like full power of his like wind spirit and all that. Well, burning transformation mostly is half, but it's full power for right now. But of course, he went against Umi, and Umi doesn't have any water spirit. So of course she lost, but of course everyone else there tried to go against him, but couldn't really win. Now Yuno was entirely kind of pissed. The fact that Asta just dipped on everyone. He doesn't understand why Asta did. Like, Asta could have had a clean headshot towards Yuno. Like, he could have easily cut Yuno's head. Now, Asta wasn't in the right mind state. He kind of, like, stopped after hearing Junko and Kurumi's voice. And even Noelle. But this is where, well, after stopping, he kind of disappeared. So, of course, Yuno doesn't understand what's really happening with Asta. Asta has two personalities. I have mentioned this. He has a human side, and he has a serpent side. His serpent side is a little bit murderous and killerish kind of personality, while his human side is kind and kind of gentle a little bit like original canon, but isn't loud like original canon. But yeah, of course, we go into the Magic Royal Knight, still going into, well, the kind of like building of the Eye of the Midnight, or not building, that giant rock thing. Of course, where Mariona did try to find Asta, and even ask Yami where's Asta at. Yami says, have no clue, haven't seen him for a couple of weeks, or a week entirely. Because, well, not a week, mostly a couple of days. This is where, well, Mariona says, are you lying to me? This is where Yami says, how the fuck am I lying to you? Whatever. What are you even wanting with him? This is where, well, she kind of just scoffed and just said, whatever. I'm here for Noelle, Luck, and where's the other one? What other one? Whatever. This is where she takes both Noelle and Luck. And of course, Magnus right now crying with tears of sadness that he didn't make it in, but yeah. But of course, we go fast forward into, well, elves being resurrected still. But of course, before they were resurrected and sacrifices were needed, the 3 sacrifices that were with Lich and all that, were going to be kind of sacrificed until serpents actually appear, like these snakes appear behind them, biting them in the neck, kind of stopping the magic flow of sacrifice to actually happen. This is where both Rades, what's it called, Sally, and even what's it called, Voltros, or whatever his goddamn name is. They were confused because they felt like their body was actually going to like disappear, and this is where Lich was even more confused, seeing that they actually haven't disappeared, but they see the souls are like the green souls being sacrificed. This is where Lich is confused, but this is where the three snakes actually kind of curl around their necks, just kind of stopping them from doing anything. This is where, well, they're confused. This is where Lich already realized someone is actually approaching. This is where this person is not actually Asta. And of course, Lich is just confused who this person is. This person has kind of palish whitish skin a little bit. And this is where, well, this person has kind of not whitish hair like Asta, but has, well, his hair is dark bluish hair. Of course, this is where, well, his eyes are selected to be dark bluish. And of course, the snakes that kind of bite into Sally, Rades, and even the other dude, I keep forgetting his name, it's like Vortress or whatever his goddamn name is. They were blue, dark blue. This is where Lich says, "Who the hell are you?" This is where the person says, "Oh, the name is unconcerning for you, but it's interesting that you managed to resurrect the elves. Very interesting. Not the point." This is where he rushes at Lich with blinding speed. Lich started using light attacks to try to attack this person. And this is where, well, the light attack starts kind of ripping through the cloak. And what he sees is this being actually a magical knight. This guy is actually from the Aqua Magic Knights. Of course, this is where, well, he looks just like the teammate of Umi's. Someone that is named Shinkai. This is where, well, he then pulls out a sword out of thin air, turning it into water. But this water becomes dark blue and almost slash at, well, Lich. Lich, who actually dodges, well, it's the fake Lich now. He is confused. Who the hell is this person? But what he sees on this person is scales all around his body. Slick blue eyes, sharp teeth, but of course like a long tongue. He like hisses at Lich, who is actually, well, his real name is, fuck, I forgot, it's like a, with the P, I forgot, I want to say poetry, not really, fuck, I can't remember why. So his name is Poetry, and of course he just jumps away from, well, this person. Of course, this person seems to have a bluish, dark blue aura. Instead of the elves kind of having this like yellowish, lightish aura and all that appearing around the whole, what's called, the whole Clover Kingdom, this person has a dark blue kind of aura. This is where he kind of appears his like Remar appearing, but instead of having a clover, it has this dark blue serpent kind of just through the clover. This is where the clover leaves is kind of cut through because of the serpent. This is where, well, Poetry looks at him, narrowing his eyes, saying, "You look like someone I know. What you look similar to him." He remembers of Asta, who has slick green eyes, well, mostly one being green and the other one being red. Of course, he is pale as hell because he looks like what's called Kabuto. Of course, this is where Asta is able to summon out different serpents and even use a sword that's very powerful and cannot be broken. Basically, Poetry has tried with multiple light spears at Asta, but Asta really cuts through them so easily. This is where, well, Poetry says, "You wouldn't, well, mate." This is where, well, Poetry says, "You wouldn't be a species of a serpent, are you?" This is where Shinkai smiles and says, "Of course I am, idiot." This is where, well, Shinkai says, "But not the point. That should really kill you, elf." This is where, well, Shinkai rushes at Lich and right now clashing with him. This is where Rades realized that they were going to be betrayed by, well, Lich. So of course, this is where he asked Vortros to kind of make a portal to the Black Bulls, just to get away from this battle. Because if they stay any longer, this serpent will kill them, or Lich will try to legit sacrifice him. This is where, well, Fortress doesn't want to. He actually wants to still ask him that question, but this is where Radius kind of bullies him to actually do it. This is where, well, for some reason, Fortress kind of hands started moving, and he made a portal. This is where, without his will, this is where the serpents were actually controlling them. This is where Radius runs into it with his free will. Fortress is actually forced into it because of the serpents, and Sally was actually moving on her own thanks to the also serpents. This is where, when they all went in there, this is where the serpents jump off of, well, all three of them. This is where, well, to go back to Shinkai, and Shinkai smiles, saying, well, that's interesting. Not the point. You're dead. This is where Partridge right now still sending light attacks at this person, and this person is faster than, well, Partridge. This is where Partridge realized that this person is loved by Mana. No, not even love. Basically bowing down, like giving Mana so freely to this person. This is where Partridge thought that all elves were blessed with Mana, but seeing this person legit being able to bend Mana to its will is kind of scary. This is where, well, not really to his will. He can see a little bit, but really it's just loving him awesome. This is where Partridge really is trying to get away from, well, Shinkai. Shinkai saying, come here, you little shit. Tries to slash at, well, a Lich. This is where a Lich managed to dodge. And of course, this is where, well, sorry. This is where Partridge tries to kind of send multiple light attacks at, well, Shinkai. But we go fast forward. We go fast forward into, well, well, somewhere in the dark void. Mostly, not really in the, well, it is in the dark void. Asta kind of, like, opened his eyes. Right now, confused, his dark, well, not dark green eyes, his green slick eyes. He then looks around and sees that he's nowhere. But yet, somewhere. He doesn't understand. He's in this black void that kind of, like, confuses him a lot. This is where, well, he is confused. This is where he activates his grimoire, but doesn't feel like he's wanting to listen to him. This is where Asta's confused. This is where he hisses like an angry tone. This is where, well, he's still looking around, confused. But of course, this is where, well, he keeps just walking around. And of course, this is where, well, when he keeps walking around, he kind of hears a voice saying, ah, hello there. Hiss. This is where he hisses at that last part. This is where Asta turns around so fast but sees no one. Nothing. This is where he's confused. He then turns around, and this is where he comes face to face with someone with similar slick eyes like him, but they're not green like his. Their eyes are actually, well, a kind of, how should I say? His eyes are actually a royal blue color. A royal blue slick color. This is where his hair is actually jet black. And of course, having like a little bit of like highlights of like white patches. Mostly like if he's getting old or something, this person's pretty old. But this is where Asta sees his scales are, well, his kind of body is scales with kind of this royal blue scales. And of course, Asta kind of jumps away from him because he was confused who this person is. This is where, well, he keeps kind of looking at this person with his own slick eyes. And of course, this person's actually taller than him. Pretty damn tall. This person seems to be like 6'5". This is where Asta is so damn confused. He seems like an ant to this person. This is where Asta says, who are you? This is where the person just kind of chuckles. Oh, interesting. I can't believe I found you in, well, this world, little Asta. Asta says, who the hell are you? And wait, why the hell did you call me little? Little. Just because I'm smaller than you. I'm only 5'8", you bastard. This is where, well, the person smiles even more with these sharp teeth, because yes, he does have sharp teeth. This is where, well, he kind of like moves very slowly towards Asta. Asta gets annoyed. This is where he tries to pull out the Kusanagi blade, but it doesn't actually work. He can't pull it out from, well, the grimoire. The grimoire won't listen to him. This is where Asta is kind of getting scared. He's kind of feeling this presence of this person. This person is walking so calmly, very calmly to Asta, but Asta can't even pull out his own blade and just protect himself. This is where his body actually stops listening to him entirely. This is where Asta, what he sees behind this person, it's like this dark blue snake. This dark blue snake, but instead of being like around, it was called a tree, it's actually around an entire world. This is where, well, Asta is getting confused. But right now he's shaking, like his legs are shaking. This is where he's confused. He doesn't fear anyone. And his serpent type his serpent side really shouldn't fear anyone. This is where, well, both his human and serpent side is actually fearing this person. He doesn't understand it. This is where when Asta tries to move, he's like, damn it, move! This is where, well, the person keeps walking so calmly towards Asta. This person is wearing a royal blue robe, I should mention. This is where, well, he's walking so calmly towards Asta. When he gets to in front of Asta, like kind of 5 feet up from each other, this is where, well, Asta says, damn it, I can't move. This is where, well, what he didn't actually expect was the person raising up his hands really fast towards Asta. Asta realized that he's going to die in an instant. But instead of dying, because he closes his eyes, he feels this warm embrace. Very warm, but yet cold a little bit, embrace. So where Asta opened his eyes, confused. Very confused. What he sees shocks him to his core. A hug. A hug that he feels kind of comfortable being in. This is where, well, the presence around him kind of stops. And of course, both sides, his human and his kind of serpent side, actually stops hearing this person. This is where, well, the presence that was kind of pushing him to the ground a little bit stops for a second. Instead, he feels very comfortable with this person. Of course, this is where Asta says, he doesn't understand what to say. And so where, well, Asta kind of closes his eyes even more, just feeling very warmth. This is where, well, his grimoire starts actually glowing up. But instead of glowing into, well, its original kind of reddish color, because it was, well, not reddish, it was kind of purplish. It started kind of glowing, instead of being purple, started glowing into this whitish color. This whitish color with a little bit of blue. And instead of having the two serpents that are on the grimoire, the two symbols, mostly one being black and one being white, it changes to just be looking like this serpent in the background. This one. And so where, well, Asta's confused, but he feels, even though he's feeling this warm embrace, he's feeling like he's getting more powerful. His mana is starting kind of just dancing around him. Instead of exploding it around him like he usually does, it just flows around. Starts dancing around him. But this is where, well, when he realized one thing, the person is kind of disappearing, fading away a little bit. This is where Asta, after this person stops giving a hug towards Asta. Asta looks towards him, and this is where the person smiles and says, well, little Asta really did grow up a little bit more. I wish I was with you. I wish me and your mother were with you. I wish we were a family. I really wish that I was there to protect their mother. I'm so sorry. I wasn't strong enough to protect you or your mother. You were born without even knowing about your powers. I'm so stupid to actually ever that I was strong. To believe that we serpents were strong enough never to die. Always being a little bit arrogant, more than normal. Sorry, Asta. This is where Asta says, who are you? This is where, well, the person smiles with this bright, friendly smile. And this is where Asta says, wait, mother? This is where, well, Asta's kind of getting memories in his head. But these memories are not his. These memories are basically this person's memories flowing into him. Because the mana around him that is dancing is actually coming from this person. So where, well, this person says, little Asta, you become such a strong young man. Strong serpent, human person. Please, Asta, don't ever become a murderer. Don't ever become just like our clan. Our clan was not always murdering and killing humans. We might do it out of spite sometimes. But, Asta, don't kill the ones that you love or are kind of comfortable with. That won't be right. That's where Asta kind of looks at him into his royal blue eyes and also looking into his eyes. Just where, well, this person says, well, it looks like my time is going up. Just remember, Asta, whatever happens to you, whatever you do onwards and on, me and your mother will always love you. It's where actually this, what's it called, mirage or something actually appears, this blurry figure appears right next to this person. Of course, being a little bit smaller than this person, because, well, the blue hair person that had actually long blue hair a little bit, of course, where he has this royal blue hair, well, not royal blue hair, royal blue eyes and royal blue hair, I should mention, but also a figure right next to him actually appears. This girl with kind of whitish, well, not whitish, kind of grayish and whitish hair, green eyes, and looks to be a human. This is where she was actually this lady was 5'2", and of course this is where, well, she smiles so brightly towards Asta that both Asta's eyes changes. One eye was actually slick green, and I did mention that their both eyes were slick green, but one was actually, well, they were both slick green, but this is where they change from actually being just slick green to actually being turquoise green, not green, turquoise, what's it called? This is where they become turquoise slick, and of course this is where, well, his skin started, instead of being grayish, becoming white. This is where, well, he then says, mother, father. This is where he says his mother's name and then says his father's name. So his mother's name is, this is where, well, he says Originta, who is actually his mother's name, and then Saketo, his father's name. Well, not his father's name was actually, well, his name was Royally Blue. So of course, this is where, well, Asta says both of their names, and this is where both of them smile at Asta, fading away. Mostly their mana started being transferred into him. This is where he gets all the memories. Even the memories of, well, his grimoire actually containing a demon. You see here, he got the memories of when, Regitena actually was called meeting Libby, and of course stealing his body into a 5-leaf grimoire. But of course, where the 5-leaf grimoire actually went into, well, what kind of got absorbed into a grimoire that was actually being presented into Asta's book. This is where, well, Asta's book, his grimoire, it did change into kind of being this kind of serpent and all that. But one side, well, kind of below it, it did kind of have the 5-leaf well, not 5-leaf, the 5-leaf, what's it called, clover. But instead of just having a 5-leaf, it was black and red, the 5-leaf and all that. It had a black inside the 5-leaf, red outline, but of course all of it was kind of reddish black and all that. This is where, well, Asta opens the book and actually brings out Libby out from that book. This is where when he meets Libby and Asta meets him for the first time, this is where Libby realized that Asta's kind of sort of his twin brother. And this is where Asta actually accepts both sides before actually kind of summoning out Libby to actually kind of bring him out from the book and all that. He kind of accepts both sides. Basically, his two personalities decide to merge, finally merging together. So of course, both his serpent and his human side actually merge, becoming one entirely. Of course, is where, well, his personality is kind of kinder a little bit, but of course, he is very overprotective still. This is where, well, he just became, well, a mixture of both sides. and finally fusion, like a actual perfect. Instead of having the split personality mostly, it's finally just fused together. This is where Asta meets Libby, and of course talks to him just a little bit. This is where he talks about the mother, and talks about his father also, towards Libby. This is where Libby kind of looks at Asta, and says, "So you're my brother." And this is where Asta says, "And you're my brother also, even if we're not fully blood related. That won't matter. You are my brother, and I will care for you." That's where Libby says, "I will also care for you, Asta." This is where both hands shake, and this is where a contract of double fusion, like, not fusion, double union starts. This is where, well, this black void, place disappears entirely. This is where, well, Asta is now back into the human world, back into the, well, Clover Kingdom. He is in his cave. But of course, around him, the dark particles started just, like, disappearing. This is where Asta looks around and feels a battle strangely being near, well, this place. This is where Asta gets out. Of course, where, well, he sees, well, Shinkai kind of being wounded and all that. Shinkai was a little too arrogant. Of course, multiple light spirits actually appear. And this is where Asta, right now, just appear right next to him. This is where Asta says, "Are you okay?" This is where Shinkai says, so. This is where Asta is kind of looking at Shinkai, and Shinkai says, so. I see, the prince finally awoken. I try my best to defeat one of the elves. He managed to get an upper hand on me, and others appeared. Sorry about that, young prince. This is where Shinkai was actually fading. Well, mostly like his eyes were closing. And this is where before he even fully closes, this is where Asta says, heal. Healing magic. Health of the reviving serpent. This is where Asta lends some of his like magic out, because this book started kind of like winding to a page and all that, and started just scribbling on itself. And this is where, well, a whitish kind of bubble actually takes upon around Shinkai. Shinkai kind of tells Asta to not heal him, and he was a waste of space. Because you see here, Shinkai realized, yes, he is a serpent. He is actually full serpent. He's not a human. He just looked like a human for a little bit. But when the reincarnation kind of happened, he kind of appeared being an actual serpent. Kind of getting the memories of, well, a serpent that was actually lived a long time ago to actually protect the royalty. And of course, Shinkai does know about Asta's status and being actually the prince of actually the serpents. Asta already knows that he's a prince to the serpents. A prince, basically he's a royal bloodline prince towards the serpents. Asta knew a little bit that he was kind of a part of the serpents, but he never thought he was actually a royal prince. Basically being just this kind of royalty bloodline towards the serpents. He thought he was just a very special kind of serpent to be able to wield a little bit more elements. That's why, well, he never thought he was actually royalty. He kind of saw from his father's memories that his father was also royalty considered. That's why, well, Asta was also royalty, but he is half human. His mother was nothing special, but she was very kind. And very, like, she was very kind, but of course mana around her kind of gets absorbed pretty easily. And of course, that actually did transfer towards Asta as a magic spell. As a magic automatic spell. It's where, well, Asta is kind of saying Shinkai if he's fine. This is where Shinkai gets up and says, yes, my lord, I am fine. This is where, well, he calls Asta lord, but Asta says, I'm only a prince. I haven't actually shown myself to be a king. So please, do not call me lord. This is where Shinkai says, Asta-sama. This is where Asta kind of gets annoyed, but this is where he has no time to actually explain. Because he kind of feels this magic pressure kind of attacking, well, Hodge Village. This is where Asta appears right in front of when Nosh tries to attack, well, what's it called, the elf. Saying, get away from Sister Ellie. This is where when the elf tries to attack, Nosh, that's where Asta appears. Right now deflecting. When I've been deflecting, mostly making a mono wall appear, stopping the kind of like, like vine attack to actually hitting Asta or anyone else. That's where, well, Nosh kind of winds his eyes, and what he sees is Asta. Asta's cloak actually changed entirely also. He had a brown cloak, but it's now white. It's so silky white. It looks pretty fluffy also. That's where, well, Asta's hood is off, and of course his whitish hair is actually flowing down. Because you can see here, Asta's like hair also changed. Instead of being kind of short a little bit, it's actually a little bit longer. So right now towards his like what's it called, elbows, his shoulder mostly. But yeah, this is where, well, Asta, well, not shoulder, mostly, yeah, elbow. And of course, this is where Asta says, "Are you okay?" He says, "Are you okay?" What's it called, Nosh. Of course, he has a red look. It looks like a red diamond on his head. That kind of looks like Sonati's like purplish, bluish diamond that she has on her head. Another. Is it purple? No, it's blue. But of course, this is where Asta has a red one. This is where, well, Asta says, "Are you fine, Nosh?" Nosh says, "Asta?" That's what Asta says. "I won't let anyone get hurt." That's where Asta pulls out a sword from the book, and this is his Kusanagi. Yeah, his Kusanagi blade. But of course, it's kind of covered into one side being kind of black, having the anti-magic on there. Yes, Libby appears right on top of Asta, saying, "So, it seems that we're gonna have to destroy this person." That's where Asta kind of looks to his grimoire, and that's where he says, "Recovery spell." What's it called? He says, "Recovery spell. Anti-erase magic." That's where, well, he erases everyone's effect off of them. This is where the elf was winding his eyes. Asta, who even just like takes one step, blitzes from the person's sight. This is where Asta appears, stabbing this person, saying the same magic spell, and kind of getting rid of the elf, erasing it from this person's body. Now, of course, Asta doesn't have the sword, the demon, what's it called? Demon Destroyer, so of course, he doesn't have that sword. So, of course, this is where Asta says, "Libby, do you see any more elves?" That's where Libby says, "No, I can't really see any more of them." So, of course, Libby is still on Asta's shoulder. This is where, well, what's it called? Now she's the kind of demon thing or whatever. He says, "Whoa, what is that?" Asta says that this is an anti-magic spirit. Asta kind of just smiles. This is where Nash says, "Whoa, I knew you were incredible. I never thought you would be this strong." Asta smiles and says, "Well, is everyone fine here?" Everyone nodded and kind of thanked Asta. And of course, Asta still has the black bull kind of, what's it called? The black bull cloak and all that. But of course, this is where it hasn't really changed into being white. It's still black, but this is where Asta just smiles and nodded towards everyone. This is where everyone says, thank you again, Magic Knight." This is where Asta gets the knocked out, Magic Knight. And of course, he kind of like eats a little bit of, well, Sister Lily kind of cooking real fast. And of course, Sister Lily kind of asks what is happening. Asta explains a little bit of the understanding from Shinkai's kind of explainment. Of course, Asta told Shinkai to actually go help the Magic Knights and actually stay undercover as well, a normal human. Shinkai wanted to refuse Asta's orders, but Asta kind of glared at him. This is where Shinkai nodded and decided to disappear. This is where Asta kind of ignored that part. Of course, this is where he didn't really tell them about that part. He didn't even tell them that he was actually a prince. So of course, he kind of explains that the elves are actually taking Magic Knight's bodies, and they're kind of coming back for kind of revenge of what happened back then. That's where Asta got memories of actually, well, not Shinkai, mostly his father's memories of what his, his grandfather, Asta's grandfather told his father about the elves. The elves were betrayed by the humans, and of course, this is where, well, the elves were pretty, not angry, the leader wasn't angry much, but of course, this is where, well, they were kind of just pretty upset for the fact that they were kind of killed by humans. Basically, humans betrayed their trust. Asta knew about that thing because he was reading from his grimoire and did kind of explain a little bit about that. But of course, Asta didn't know the full story about it. It's kind of got into his memories that a demon actually managed to almost possess the leader of the elves, trying to get his 4-leaf grimoire to actually turn into a 5-leaf grimoire, but of course got destroyed. Well, the demon actually almost got killed by none other than, Asta's grandfather. Asta's grandfather decided to help the elves, but it was too late, and so his time actually died. Well, he didn't die. He mostly helped the first Wizard King to actually kind of stop Lich. So, of course, Asta knows about this story now. Asta is not really upset, but really he is kind of not really hating the elves. He can see the elves kind of being betrayed by humans, and can see both sides. The elves really hate the humans, but they're really just under control of a spell from a demon. But of course, he can see the humans are kind of terrified, and how their ancestors really fucked up. But yeah, so Asta decides to just go along and kind of says, "Well, I gotta get to the capital. Sorry about this, I need to leave." That's where she literally says, "No, it's fine." That's where she's kind of saying bye to Asta. Of course, the Magic Knight says that he will come along, and he really doesn't care about Asta's look, and even if he's a black boy and all that, he decides to still come. This is where a silver eagle actually appears, and of course it's flying. This is where Marilona is there. Of course, this is where the others are also there. Didn't see the elf magic, and Asta didn't really want to talk to Yuno. Now I should mention Umi was also a royal knight. Junko and Karumi, they didn't really become royal knights because they weren't really there to kind of be there and be like a person. But yeah, that's where Yuno, when he looks down, he sees a serpent right now just taking both Asta and the Magic Knight towards the capital. Asta felt this strange magic kind of presence above him. He already sensed him, but of course he didn't care about Yuno. And of course, is where he told the serpent and the Magic Knight to get to the capital. That's where Asta jumps off the serpent, and this is where the Magic Knight person says, "Where are you going?" "To stop some elves." "Now go back and try to help many people in the capital. I'll be helping people that are outside." This is where the serpent nodded and takes the person. This is where Asta starts running towards the kind of magic presence he felt. And this is Luck. This is where Luck is fighting against Magna and even Vanessa. And of course, this is where, Magna doesn't want to give up. So this is where he makes a new kind of magic style and says, "Magic Fireball, Serpent Explosion." This is where he throws a magic ball, like a magic fireball explosion, at, Luck. It actually transforms into a serpent because he copies this kind of serpent magic kind of ability from Asta, because how Asta's super amazing and all that. But of course, this is where Magna didn't really understand why Asta left. This is where, when the fireball gets close to Luck, Luck was about to disappear, but of course the fireball serpents, they rushes at Luck like if it was some kind of heat missile, because they're attracted towards Luck's heat. So of course, Magna keeps sending them at Magna. I mean not Magna, mostly Luck. And of course, this is where there was 9 in total. This is where Vanessa. Oops, sorry. This is where Vanessa kind of uses her kind of fate to kind of change what's called Magna's fate and not dying. But yeah, this is where he doesn't die, but this is where Asta kind of gets there, and of course where the snakes actually manage to get around Luck and explode into him, but Luck managed to go into lightning mode, actually powerful lightning mode. And this is where he was about to kill Magna because Magna was running out of mana, and this is where Vanessa tries to use her fate because fate didn't actually disappear this time. But of course, before Magna was about to get touched by fate or even what's called Luck, Asta appears right now with a kind of whitish glow around him. That's where Asta says, "Kazunaki blade, 10,000 slashes." Well, not 10,000 slashes. He says 10 slashes, 10 basic slashes. That's what he said. This is where he walks behind Luck, and Luck now has multiple slashes around. This is where, well, something actually appears. The sword did have what's called anti-magic. This is where he actually erases Luck magic for the temporary time. And this one also says, what's it called? Magic spell. Magic release. This is where this magic release was a release to release the elf from the stress and pain and other things. This is where, well, the elf was also kind of like kicked out of Luck's body. This is where Luck actually awakens, but this is where the elf smiles and says, huh, thank you, Serpent-sama. This is where, well, he disappears, but yeah, mostly the elf that was controlling Luck. This is where Luck actually appears, wakes up, but of course has slashes. This is where he still kicks Magda, and they're laughing, but yeah. Of course, this is where they get to the Black Bolt hideout. And of course, Asta did deal with the other one by actually making a serpent clone that actually defeated this person pretty easily, but yeah. This is where, well, Asta is now going, well, this serpent clone, as you mentioned, is going to gather up magic knights around the whole capital. Instead of Yuna doing that, Asta's clone is actually doing it. And of course, we go into, well, Asta, the real Asta, kind of going with the Black Bolt to go towards, well, the Black Bolt hideout. When they get there, they kind of see, well, Gordon kind of actually fucking speaking randomly, well, very quiet, Gray, and even Henry. Henry says, oh, hello there, Asta. This is where both Gordon and Gray kind of see Asta, and they kind of start kind of mumbling. Of course, this is where both, what's it called? Well, all three Voltex, I'm calling him Voltex, I don't know if that's actually his real name. I can't actually remember his name, it's just that, it starts with a B, okay? I'm calling him Voltex because I don't care. There's Rades and also Sally. Sally says, huh? You look interesting. Asta says, whatever. Also, well, what's it called? Junko and Kurumi are there. This is where they say Asta. This is where they see Asta. And Asta looks completely different. Also, Asta became 5'9". This is where, well, well, not 5'9", 6 feet in total. This is where, well, Asta says, oh, hey there, Junko and Kurumi. This is where they say, Asta, you don't seem unstable like the last time. Asta says, oh, that's just because, stuff happened. Not the point. Sorry about that. He smiled with this friendly smile, and everyone's so confused because they never see Asta smiling with a friendly smile, which it scares half of them. Even Rady, Sally, and also Voltex says, nah, not happening. This is where Junko and Kurumi just blushes, but yeah. This is where, well, everyone is just shocked to even see, well, Asta smiling. This is where Asta says, so what happened here, Henry? Henry says, whoa, don't get too close to me. I will absorb your magic. Asta says, I'll be fine. Asta's very close to Henry, and Henry is right now, like, absorbing the magic. But, of course, this is where Asta activates the, well, the kind of absorbing magic. His own spell gets activated. His own absorption kind of curse that Asta has. This is where it starts kind of, well, stops absorbing, well, Asta's magic. This is where Henry is confused, but this is where he doesn't really mind. He says, well, what is that thing on your shoulder? He says very slowly. That's where Asta says, oh, this is an anti-magic spirit. This is where, well, Sally says, whoa, I want to study it. I want to experiment it. This is where Libby goes, get away from me, you crazy lady. This is where Sally says, huh? I'm not crazy. I just want to know, what's it called, how that works, though. Also, you look like a great subject to kind of, well, be tested on, Asta. Is that your name? Asta says, oh, great, it's a crazy chick lady. I don't really know you that much, but from the stories I heard from Kurumi and Junko, you're fucking insane. This is where, well, she says, ow, that kind of hurts. This is where Junko and Kurumi says, yep, you're crazy. This is where Sally says, you guys are so mean. This is where Rady says, I don't care what is happening. I want revenge on Lech. This is where Asta says, cool. Hey, Henry, can you still kind of make this whole building into a bowl? This is where Henry says, I got this. He makes a bowl. Of course, where, well, he's kind of low on magic, but this is where, well, Charmy appears saying, what happened to my garden? This is where Asta from the from what he's understanding from Gordon and Gray and even Henry, Ghost kind of did this. This is where Charming said, "I'm gonna kill Ghost." This is where Asta says, "Yeah, let's kill him." This is where they say, "Wait, no, don't kill him." This is where everyone just wipes their eyes, except for Sally, what's it called, Radius, and even Voltex. They really, or Vortorix or whatever his name is, just doesn't care that much. This is where Charming starts making a bunch of food for everyone to eat. This is where Asta eats, and of course his magic does kind of get up. And of course, this is where, well, everyone is right now just eating food and all that. This is where they start kind of running through, like, with the giant bull and all that. Running through the fate of different elves. But of course, when they get to the capital, and of course meets, well, what's it called, like everyone there, this is where Asta sees Noelle, of course, right now being in her kind of armor. Asta says, "Well, that's interesting. Nice armor you have there," Asta said. This is where Noelle's like, "Asta?" This is where Mimosa also sees Asta, and this is where she is winding her eyes. You know who is also there, kind of fighting against some elves, mostly, what's it called, Ghost. She winding his eyes. That's Asta. Asta appears right in front of Ghost, and even what's it called, Mary? Or, I forgot her name. Yeah, her name is Mary. And of course, where Asta knocks them both out by using Serpents to bite onto them and kind of get the elf out of them. That's where Asta says, "So, what is happening here?" This is where, well, explains that there's a bunch of, like, elves attacking and all them other things. Asta says, "So, I understand. Already knew this. You didn't explain to me again like if I was some kind of child." Says, "Wait, you just said explain to you." Asta says, "Oh, did I? Oh, well, I didn't actually know." Asta smiling. This is where, never actually seen Asta smile. After, when they were younger, they always smile, but this is Asta now. This is where Asta before was someone who didn't like smiling, always like being in the shadows. But this Asta seems to be really not in the shadows, but of course, literally out in the friggin', like, out in the lights, being smiling and kind. Of course, this is where, well, Asta says, "But whatever about it, right? Doesn't matter right now." This is where, well, Asta sees some elves attacking him, but this is where Asta knocks them all out. This is where Charming and the others starts kind of fighting against the elves. This is where, well, the Dark Castle still got brought up, and this is where, like what's it called, stone that's kind of make him go on there. Of course, where, well, what's it called, what's it called, Spirit was actually talking to Levy, and Levy saying, "I'm an anti-magic spirit." Smiling. Right now, trying to make, well, what's it called, Belle kind of fall for it. This is where Belle narrows her eyes and says, "Okay, I never heard of you." And so where, well, Levy says, "You're gonna hear about me now because I'm actually a new one." This is where, well, Belle says, "Okay, whatever. Let's go, This is where, well, Asta says, "We should be going also, Levy." Levy says, "Yeah." This is where they're going into it. Of course, other captains are actually going with it. This is where, well, Nura also goes towards it. But of course, she does manage to go with the first Wizard King. Of course, they get in there, and of course, where, well, Asta gets teleported with Mimosa still, and kind of appearing right next to that one dude who kind of draw art. That's where Asta kind of fights against this artist dude, but of course, Asta says, "Serpent style. Serpent time." This is where a serpent appears that was actually Time Serpent, and right now freezes the guy, and this is where Asta knocks his shit out by punching him in the face and knocking his ass out. Asta says, "Well, that's good enough." Charmy says, "Asta, what is happening here?" Asta says, So Asta then smiles in his head. He wants to just be a troll. Asta said, "This man doesn't like food. He says that art is better than food. He despises food. He wastes food." This is where the guy is waking up saying, what just happened? This is where Charmy goes into, well, out of her dwarf form and goes into actual her human form or whatever. And getting her magic power just boosted up. This is where Mimosa says, "What is happening?" That's where Asta explains that Charmy is actually a, well, dwarf. This is where she is half human, half dwarf. Just like he is half serpent, half human. This is where Mimosa says, wait, what is a serpent? That's where Asta says, "Oh, I realized that you're not really part of the Black Bulls, so you don't actually know much about me. Sorry about that." Asta smiling. This is where, well, Mimosa's face is actually becoming red because every time she sees Asta smile, her heart just beats a little bit faster, but yeah. This is where, well, Asta says, but not the point of me explaining what my race is, mostly. Dwarves are very special because they also are kind of blessed with magic. Well, mana. And this is where Charmy starts beating the shit out of the art kid, saying, why don't you like food? I'm gonna break all your bones to make you eat food. You bastard, you bastard, you bastard. This is where the guy is saying, help! Please, save me, Serpent Sama. This is where Asta says, nah, I'm good. Let's go, Mimosa. This is where Mimosa says, should we not help him? Charmy is not going to kill him. He's just going to get really beaten up. Pretty bad, but not be dead. But yeah. Of course, this is where, well, they get to, like, up. And of course, this is where they see Yuno. And of course, this is where, well, also, I should mention one thing. The others are kind of fighting. This is where, before getting up to Yuno, they kind of meet with Noelle. Noelle is right now fighting against Fauna. And this is where Asta says, yo, Noelle. This is where Noelle says, Asta? This is where, well, Asta says, you look great in that armor or whatever. I don't really know how to compliment girls, but I guess so. Asta's also with Junko and Kurumi because Junko did kind of, well, is able to kind of fly a little bit. Mostly with her magic because, yeah, with her darkness magic, but yeah. This is where Kurumi is kind of using time-space ability to kind of be able to kind of float a little bit much, but yeah. Just fall a little bit slower, but yeah. She's right now on, well, they're basically kind of grabbing into Asta because Asta can fly. Asta created wings behind him. These wings are actually somewhat, they look like, what's it called, they kind of look like, how should I say, you know how Sasuke kind of had wings with his curse mark? They also kind of created wings like those. This is where, well, Asta's kind of flying. This is where Asta kind of like gets up, and of course, this is where, well, Asta then asks Junko and Kurumi to kind of help Noelle. This is where Asta's kind of getting towards Yuno. This is where they kind of nodded. Of course, this is where, well, actually, it doesn't look like the curse mark or anything like that. Instead, they're actually wings, like angel wings a little bit, but yeah. This is where Asta kind of just creating them, but yeah. This is where, well, Asta's kind of flying up, but yeah. This is where, well, it's mostly why he kind of has wings is because of the wind and serpent god that actually has wings and can easily fly. All the wind serpents actually has wings, but yeah, like wings. This is where, well, Asta is right now flying towards, well, where Yuno's at. He kind of felt the magic. This is where when he gets to Yuno, he sees the devil named Zagreus. And Zagreus is sending swords at, well, Yuno. And of course, even Asta. Asta dodges it pretty easily and appears right in front of, well, Zagreus and slashing at him, right now cutting a bit of his heart. That's where Zagreus widening his eyes like, what the? How? That's where Asta says, you don't really need to know how. All you just gotta know is you're going to die. This is where Zagreus says, I won't die. Asta says, Libby, you ready? Libby says, yeah. Double Union. This is where Asta goes into Double Union. Of course, his hair is black, but still has white patches of hair. This is where his one eye is kind of like turquoise, but they have like red in it. Mostly the slick is kind of red, but of course it's turquoise. But it was Double Union plus, what's called White Serpent Sage. This is where, well, it's a kind of fusion transformation of it. Of course, the White Serpent Sage isn't really much complete. But of course, it's the same with the Double Union. It's not really completed. So of course, we're also rushes at, well, Zagreus. Right now with blinding speed that Zagreus cannot find Asta. Like his mana is almost everywhere, but at the same time nowhere. He can't find Asta. Asta's just blitzing around. This is where when the first Wizard King managed to get through, because he wanted to fight against Zagreus. This is where, well, they kind of meet up with what's called Lich, and Lich was saying, huh? This is where Yami was kind of about to fight against what's it called, Char, and of course, this is where, well, Yami says, so, is it really necessary for you to fight me now? This is where, Lich and what's it called, the first Wizard King, of course, is where Nero does kind of, break the spell, so of course he can actually be fully awakened. This is where Lich says, my friend, you're here. This is where the first Wizard King says, yeah, I'm here. This is where the ground underneath them kind of shatter, and of course, this is where the demon just went straight towards the ceiling, and the sword was smashed through his heart. This is where he's like, you insolent human devil fucking serpent, I don't give a shit what you are. This is where, well, Asta appears right now just glowing. His like aura is kind of glowing with this white, flowing calm aura, but at the same time this dark devilish aura, thanks to Libby. But of course this white flowing calm aura is basically just a serpent's eye. That's where Asta is kind of like smiling, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry about that, devil. Did I meant to hurt you? I meant to break all your bones and then shatter you and then break your face, but sorry about that." This is where, the devil's angry and rushing towards Asta. Asta pulls out the demon slayer, and of course this is where he also pulls out the demon dweller, and of course this is where he sends magic through the demon dweller straight towards, the devil. This is where the devil gets hit by it. Of course, where these slashes were so powerful, they actually cut off what's called Zagrett's limbs. And this is where Zagrett whined his eye. He started trying to regen and say swords straight towards Asta, and Asta says, "Oh no, you don't. Wind serpents. Oh, what's it called? Wind serpent style. Wind obliteration." This is where he sends one slash with a demon dweller, and it just cuts through all the swords like a million pieces. Where Asta says, "Are you done now?" This is where Zagrett says, "I'm going to kill you." This is where he pulls out the trident and tries to kill Asta. Asta cuts through it easily, and this is where he says no. This is where Asta, he throws the demon dweller up in the sky, and this is where he pulls out the Kusanagi blade and the demon slayer, and this is where he says what's it called? He says execution serpent. Well, he says execution devil slayer. This is where he cuts the man down into an X motion and actually hitting the heart twice. This is where the heart was cut into an X, into 4 sides, and this is where devil Zagrett was gone. Oh, he passes out. He not really passed out. He died. He disappeared. This is where the devil meets Libby, but Libby in that one transformation mostly. This is where he says, "Haha, scumbag. It looks like you lose. You fucking loser. Now disappear, you failure." This is where Zagrett says, "No." This is where Asta right now just is still floating there, and this is where Demon Dweller is actually floating around him still. This is where he has the Kusanagi blade on one side, and this is where he has the demon side on the other side. This is where he has his wings, and of course his wings are black, but of course they are having a little bit of white on there, being kind of flowing with mana at the same time, anti-mana. But yeah, I'll just say, who the hell are you people? This is where Yami says, "Ah, that's very interesting, Asta. Did you get a new form?" This is where Asta says, "Hey there, Captain Yami. I guess you can say I got a form. It's powerful enough for me to kick the shit out of the Golden Dawn boy. Don't you think I'm gonna win this time?" This is where Yami says, "I guess so. So are you done with your psychotic self and all that?" Somewhat. I guess you can say that. This is where Yuno wide his eyes how powerful Asta defeated the devil in an instant. Yuno could barely keep up with Asta, but Asta just defeated this devil with no problem. He realized how far below he is to Asta. He thought that he could have won against Asta and that one, Torment and all that, while he was in the spirit form union form multi. But right now, he was fighting against an Asta that was unstable in that time. This Asta is right now stable enough to be able to defeat a devil and still talk so casually in this form. Because this form doesn't actually run in 5 minutes. This form is actually a little bit longer. But this is where Asta kind of dissipates this kind of form because it takes a little bit too much mana mostly. Now I should mention that behind Asta, 2 of the slash attacks did obliterate like half the what's it called structure. Yeah, that power is just way too much just destruction. Asta laughs at Yami's jokes, and this is where Asta says, "I guess that's so true, Captain. Well, should we be leaving or something? Should we be drinking some alcohol or just getting to relax? The devil's gone. The elves might be a problem, but they can be figured out by the leader there." That's where Lich looks at Asta, and right now what he gets reminded is not Asta, but get reminded of Asta's grandfather, a man that basically had he didn't have royal blue eyes, like royal blue suck eyes. He had so he had black eyes, like black pupil eyes, like not pupil eyes, like black eye, but of course the pupil was actually a slick white eye, and of course around it was white, of course. But of course he had like this like black and whitish mixed hair mostly, and this is where well he had kind of it like a little bit kind of long also, mostly towards like waist length, like that long. And of course he was smiling at Lich, and of course they were talking. Of course this is where Asta's grandfather was named was called, his name was Melian. And of course this is where well he was smiling at Lich, and of course Lich was smiling at him. Of course, they were kind of friends when they were actually kind of like meeting each other, but yeah. Of course, Melion was very strong. He had two different serpent swords. Of course, they were very powerful. They were extremely powerful that Lich was never able to kind of best Melion and how powerful he was in a swordsmanship. This is where, well, Lich did try to, because he is the strongest swordsman in what's called the Elf tribe, but he can never decide to defeat Melion. This is where Melion was a little bit older than Lich, but this is where Melion didn't really mind against Lich. This is where Lich says, Melion? This is where Asta heard his grandfather's name be called. This is where Asta widened his eyes and kind of looks at, well, Lich with narrow eyes. This is where, well, this is where Lich says, sorry about that. You must be... This is where Asta says, I'm Melion's grandson. This is where Lich widens his eyes and says, you are? Then again, that flowing energy was similar towards Melion. Melion was sort of part of the royal serpents, and I'm guessing you're part of it also. Asta says, yeah, you can say that. I'm only half completed for a minute, but that doesn't mind. I will be strong just like my grandfather. And my father. Doesn't matter. So, well, Lich just smiles friendly towards Asta and says, I would like to see you be strong like them. They were very well. Your grandfather was really powerful. This is where the first Wizard King says, wait, you're talking about that old man? This is where, well, Lich says, don't call him old. He was still young. Asta says, I'm gonna kill you, bastard. Whoever you fucking talking trash to my fucking grandfather. This is where, well, the first Wizard King says, whoa, don't try to kill me. This is where Naruto says, I won't let you. This is where Asta disappears and says, die. This is where Asta didn't really kill him because he could have easily struck him, mostly bonked him in the head with the sword. This is where Asta says, never talk shit about my grandfather. This is where the first Wizard King smiles and says, at least you're really not that angry to try to kill me. Thank God. This is where Asta says, yeah. This is where Naruto, she wanted to stop Asta, but Asta was too fast for her. She realized that Asta is just completely different. That's where, well, Asta says, we should probably be leaping. That's where he says, serpent magic, teleportation, all. That's where a bunch of, like, these white serpents were kind of visible, but they all appear around the different, well, elves and also the humans. This is where they all get teleported right next to Asta. Asta says, well, humans go that way, elves goes that way. Or humans, dwarfs, elves, you know what, actually shut up. Just talk to the leaders here and leave me alone. That's where Asta kind of just sits in thin air. He's just sitting in thin air, like he's crisscross applesauce in thin air, and he's just floating there like, how would this play out? That's where the elves are confused. The humans are more confused. But this is where Lich kind of talks to all of them, and Power Tree saying, Lich, I'm so sorry. He had his kind of dark elf a little bit on one of his eyes, but this is where Lich says, it's fine, Power Tree. I forgive you. But I'm a little ashamed that you've fallen for a demon's trick. But that's not the point. I will still forgive you. At all, we are elves. Well. So where, well, Asta says, well, it shouldn't really matter, does it? This is where Asta says, well, gonna just sit here. Asta kind of just sits and then lays back and starts going to sleep. This is where everyone is realizing that Asta's sleeping in thin air and Asta just doesn't care. This is where they're saying, what the hell is he doing? Disrespectful little brat. This is where Lich says, it's fine. Asta is very interesting. He's a species that I kind of respect a lot. Asta says, what about the dragons? This is where, well, Lich says, yes, I forgot the dragons. I forget that your, what's it called, species of serpents and dragons were kind of always close to each other. I wonder what happened to the dragons, Lich kind of asked. Asta says, don't know. I actually didn't get that many information from what happened to the dragons. That's where Lich says, well, that is true. That's where, we go into Asta's mind, kind of explaining what the dragons and serpents are. Serpents were a little bit kind of arrogant, prideful, and how powerful they were, but they weren't as powerful and prideful as like the dragons. The dragons had a very huge ego. This is where, they were very prideful and, of course, very strong and kind of loyal, but not like the serpents. Serpents were kind of disloyal, but most of the time. But serpents were kind of peaceful until you disturbed them. Dragons were the same. The elves were kind of peaceful people because of liches, but of course, like lich will only fight if like you piss him off. But yeah, but of course, lich didn't really see fighting that much. So yeah, that's where they're peaceful. Of course, this is where the dwarf mostly stick to the ground and kind of mostly mine underground, but yeah, didn't really want to be bothered by anyone. The witches were kind of tricky and other things, but yeah. That's where there were so many different species around the world before humans kind of came along and kind of tried to rule over those species. Of course, the serpents reacted and actually murdering every noble they kind of saw, and also any humans they actually get pissed off by. Dragons were the same. Elves decided to stay quiet. The dwarf were still staying quiet, and the witches did also reacted to actually killing humans and whatever. And so where, over time, the serpents counts of tribes start going lower after the elves kind of fell down and died. This is where dragons actually die first than the elves, just because of the declining number of how many dragons were actually being killed by humans. Now, of course, humans could never get the mana of the power of the dragons because the dragons self-destruct in killing, multiple humans when they die. Of course, this is where the serpents didn't die towards humans. They mostly just died from the fact they were getting pushed away from their homes from humans and also other species. But yeah. Of course, this is where Asta's asleep, and this is where they get outside. Asta's still asleep in the middle of the sky, but yeah. This is where, Lich kind of says, how will we get rid of, not Lich, mostly Asta saw how many elves are still alive. Asta says, releasing magic. Release of, all elves from despair, destruction, and stress, and other things. That's where all elves actually appear with this whitish glow and started kind of being levitated. That's where all the elves realized that they are actually leaving and being able to rest. That's where, Asta's yawning, but yeah, this is where Partry sees that his soul is also leaving. That's where he says, fine, I get to go. This is where also Lich says, yes, I get to leave also. This is where he looks at, Raya, Fauna, and even Vectron. This is where he says, this is where Raya explains that they can't leave. They're still attached to these human bodies, so yeah. This is where, what's it called? Rady says, oh no you don't, you Partry. You're staying here for your fucking crimes. This is where Rady still kind of, unlocks that spell to kind of bring Partry down, but yeah, and kind of be in Lich kind of old body or whatever. This is where, all the elves are leaving and thanking Asta for a lot of stuff. Kind of saying thank you, Serpent Sama. Thank you, Serpent Lords, blah blah blah. They're just thanking Asta a lot. Asta kind of just closed his eyes. But yeah. This is where, everyone is now calm. The castle is still kind of destroyed and other things. But of course, we fast forward into, the kingdom being rebuilt and Asta being talked by the Wizard King. The Wizard King explains that Asta is going to die. Asta says, by who? This is where the Wizard King says, the fact that you're going to be kind of an scapegoat from the nobles and blah blah blah. Asta says, if they touch me, I'm killing every last one of them. Don't care, fuck off, didn't ask. This is where the Wizard King says, but this is where Asta says, no. You are weak right now. You realize, A, you have no magical power, and B, you didn't have magical power over me in the first place, so if anyone dare touches me, even lay a glance on me, or dares to do anything to me, I'm cutting them up into a fucking fish fillet and don't give a shit. So, fuck you, don't give a shit about your rules, Wizard King, because guess what? You can't do shit to me. Also, Asta turns around and kind of sees Julius and says, White Serpent Purity Blitz. This is where a white serpent appears, biting into Julius, and Julius widen his eyes. This is where all of them widen their eyes. Noelle, Mimosa, and even what's it called, Nero. Yami was confused, saying, Asta, what are you? This is where a devil appears behind Julius. Because I heard there, I didn't really read the manga of, fully the manga of Black Clover. I'm still reading it. But from what's it called, watching a video, Julius is somewhat this devil named Asterfus? Am I saying it right? No, I think I'm saying it wrong. Whatever. It's a devil that's having this time ability and whatever. But of course, yeah, that happens. And of course, the devil gets pushed out of Julius' body. Julius passes out. But this is where the devil says, how? This is where Asta says, doesn't matter how. This is where Asta appears with his anti-magic sword and even the Kusanagi blade. This is where the Kusanagi blade is glowing in white. This white magic, powerful, and this is where the anti-magic, this is where Asta says, but die. Obliteration erased, together. Anti-magic sword of, what's it called, annihilation. And this is where the white sword says, white sword of erasement. This is where he puts both the swords together, and this is where the swords do collide into this magical power, and this is where he stabs it upon, the devil, and this is where the devil says, no, I can't die! This is where he gets annihilated. Of course, he just gets erased. Particles of white and black particles making him disappear. This is where Asta says, well, that was easier than I thought. This is where Yami says, how do you know that was there? Asta says, well, from the fact that I'm human, serpent, and I guess devil now. Right, Libby? Libby says, yep. And luckily we got rid of one of those devil kings. Fucking bastards. I want revenge on all of them. Asta says, don't worry, we'll get revenge on all of them. So, yeah. He helps me a lot in getting rid of the devils. Ding! I'm like a devil hunter. Yeah! Or, never mind. This is where, Asta says, but whatever. Since I got rid of the devil from Julius, I guess I should get a freebie for not getting executed by nobles. Actually, I don't even care about the nobles. I'm killing them all! This is where Asta pulls out the Kusanagi blade, and also pulls out another blade that was curved and bladed, and this is where Asta says, I'm gonna go murder the nobles. Hell yeah, hell yeah. And this is where Nero kind of says, you shouldn't do. This is where Asta says, shut up. This is where Nero gets scared, but this is where Asta says, sorry about that. I still kind of get annoyed with your presence, Birdie. But that's not the point. I'm going to go murder the nobles. Hell yeah, hell yeah. This is where Nero was scared, but of course, this is where, she had to stop being scared, but yeah. So, of course, we go into Asta. Well, Asta is right now just kind of helping some people, like, rebuild their fucking stuff, but yeah. This is where Asta is right now just going around, and this is where, some people kind of ask Asta and Nero to go towards, the judging place so they can talk about their side. Asta, who walks past them, their heads falls off the ground. This is where the magic knights, those magic people who wants to ask Asta some questions. Yeah, they're not fucking with Asta. Asta's just like, really? You're really gonna piss me off? Well, too bad for you. I don't give a shit. Yeah, Asta doesn't give a shit. Nero realized this. Even she tried to seal off Asta's magic and even what's it called? His anti-magic? Anti-magic is a counter towards anything. So, of course, destroys it in an instant. And even if Nero tries to, freeze him somewhere, Asta can always break out of it with his physical strength. A serpent has such a strong physical body that Nero can never be able to ever stop, Asta's, physical power. And even magical power. Because he is blessed with mana, and of course, since he is blessed with mana, the mana will always protect Asta, no matter what. So of course, Nero is never going to try that again, because Asta was almost so close to killing her. Because Asta just had enough with Nero half of the bullshit time. Asta didn't like her when he had his two personalities, and doesn't like her when he has two personalities fused. But yeah. But of course, Asta somehow managed to get to that one judge place and all that, thanks to someone kind of making a portal for him, and Asta kind of walked through it. Asta knew what was going to happen. He was just going to murder through, hack and slash and kill everyone. Asta was being judged. This is where Diamanto, whatever the goddamn name, that guy was the name, something like that, whatever. He says, for your crimes of possessing a... That's where Asta says, oh my gosh, shut the fuck up before I kill all of you, you fuckers. Now shut up. This is where he says, so you're threatening us. This is where Asta says, okay, I'm done with this shit. Serpent clones. This is where so many serpent clones appear. And this is where when Tamato tries to kind of use his judge power to kind of get rid of them, they don't get rid of. Instead, they start hacking and slashing, killing every single noble. Even the Clover King almost died towards Asta if it wasn't for Yami stopping the sword. This is where Yami says, Asta, I really was hoping you were joking about not killing half the nobles. Well, too bad. They're now 0%. Now shut the fuck up. Like I said, Wizard can't stop me, then no one can. This is where Tamato did try to attack Asta with magical power to kind of attack him. This is where Asta cut his head off. Done. Asta then looks at, well, the Clover King, and the Clover King says, help me, please. This is where Asta says, yeah, I'll help you. Serpent, demise, poison. This is where the poison bites into him, well, mostly the snake, and this is where the Clover King is dead. In an instant, just a matter of seconds, done. Asta says, well, we're done here. Well, I'm done here because I'm not dealing with half of this shit. This is where, well, we go into a few days later. The Magic Knights are kind of caught upon Asta. Asta is somewhat sitting in a prison cell. Asta can easily break out of the prison cell. He doesn't give a shit that much. That's where Asta is right now meditating. Yeah, mana has actually been storing up so much into him that not even the, magic restriction or anything can't really stop Asta when mana legit loves him. This is where, well, everyone is so scared of Asta because Asta can be so happy sometimes, but can easily break sometimes. So yeah, he still has a personality of murdering people. But this time, he murders people with a smile instead of no smile. So yeah, Asta killed half of the nobles. Well, not half of them. He kills all of them that was there. And even the Clover King, and even, well, the judge dude. So of course, that whole system is shattered into a million pieces. This is where Julius had his take up in being the ruler of basically the Clover Kingdom. He is having to have so much stress in his back. The other Magic Knights are having to be somewhat like having someone to judge stuff. So of course, where, well, they can't do anything for Asta. They can't really execute him because they're, well, the elves, well, not elves. Asta's too overpowered and can easily take out every single Magic Knight captain with just his anti-magic alone, or even his just, well, how should I say, mana alone. But yeah, Libby says, why are we still here? Asta says, I don't know. We can always leave. Was it wrong for me to kill them all, Libby? Libby says, nah, they're all assholes. They all deserved it. Asta says, agreed. Anyone that's over, well, what's it called? Tries to rule over us, we should murder them. Yeah. This is where the Magic Knights were trying to just protect, what's it called, Asta's cell. Was hearing this and they were scared so much. They were trying to just praise to God why they actually were set here. This is where, well, Asta says, maybe I should cut those guys that are right in front of me. Ooh, you know what I should do, Libby? Libby says, what? Asta breaks through and says, bring him inside the cell so they can be closer and watching me. And once I get bored, I could probably kill them. This is where they both widen their eyes and start running away the opposite. Asta says, aw, they're running away. Dark, light. This is where, well, two serpents appear, and this is where I rush towards them and grabs them, starts dragging them towards Asta. And Asta says, no, you guys can't leave me. You have to protect and watch me. This is where, well, Yami says, Asta. Asta says, oh, hey, Yami. Don't worry about this. I'm trying to get the people back here so they won't run away and try to, well, protect the cell so I won't escape. Yami says, okay, Asta, you know you can cut the crap of being so friendly. You're still kind of psychopathic, aren't you? Somewhat, Asta said. Really? I just want to just not be normal. I don't really care about being normal. The nobles were already pissing me off. Man, I don't really care. I kill nobles, this what, don't care. This is where, well, They get towards, well, a table seating, and of course Julius is there right now, stressed and saying, "Why, Asta? Why?" Asta says, "Because Yami didn't tell me anything." Ding. I swear Julius widened his eyes and realized that he should have told Yami something. Yami says, "Wait, you still listen to my orders?" "Yep." "Fuck. Well, that's interesting." This is where Julius is like, fuck. But yeah. This is where half the captains just looks at Asta with no, like, what's it called, disdain or anything. No, Zell just looks at him just with, what the hell is wrong with this kid? Asta's eyes are still turquoise green, and of course his, well, Libby, who's still next to him, just sitting on his shoulder. But yeah, Asta says, "So, what are we doing here, Wizard King?" The Wizard King says, "Okay, since you really just got rid of the whole fucking Clover King system, I'm gonna have to rebuild it and change it or something else. But for me doing that, and thank you for getting rid of the devil that was inside me, but not the point." Also, how the hell do you even know that? Mana tells me a lot of things, but not the point. "So, you want me to go to the Heart Kingdom and get rid of curses, or what?" Also has that one sword that's called the Demon Destroyer. And the sword, well, he kind of got it from Lich when Lich kind of gave it to him, but yeah. The sword Asta says, "So you want me to get rid of curses, right?" "Yeah." Sure." The sword, well, he starts with the first one that was right in front of him. Shar. The sword, well, Shar's curse was not lifted. Asta kind of sees that it's going to be something helpful to her, so of course Asta doesn't actually lift it. The sword, well, Asta only lifts up curses that will not help someone. So yeah, that's where, well, Asta says, "So I should be looking for curses, right, and lifting them up." That's where, well, Julie says, "Yeah." This is where that same mission would still happen. Asta would just talk to Gordon and his family. Asta seems fine with Gordon's family. This is where Ghosh and even Gray are just terrified of, well, Gordon's family. Of course, this is where, well, Asta actually sees the different curses around here and says, "Alright, Henry is one of them. But his magic is pretty good. I can help him by controlling that what's called mana absorbing. It's not really a curse, I would say that's pretty bad. It's a curse, but not much terrifying. There's that one. Where's that one?" This is where he asked for that big-ass flame one. This is where Gordon's father did kind of say that that's from the Heart Kingdom. And so says, "Heart Kingdom. Biggest curse. Must find a devil or something in that curse. Right, Libby?" Libby says, "Yeah." That's where Asta says, "Got it." So they talk to Julius, and of course, this is where, well, Mimosa still kind of gets that boat. Well, not boat specifically, mostly just a travel towards the Heart Kingdom. Finral is joined along. Now, Finral is still with his, like, little brother and all that. He managed to save him and all that, like original canon. But of course, this is where, well, Finral is shocked to be with so many beautiful ladies. There is Junko, Kurumi, Noelle, and Mimosa. So yeah, and so where Asta's there also because yeah, he needs to kind of figure out the shit, whatever, get rid of some fucking devils or whatever. And so where, well, Asta gets towards the Heart Kingdom, and this is where Asta's just sitting there, and this is where, well, they meet that one dude, and this is where that one dude says, "Well, you must follow us along." This is where a water bubble appears on Asta. Asta cuts in an instant. Asta's still on the boat. Water bubble again. Water bubble. Water. This is where Asta is getting quite annoying. This is where he says serpents of lightning. This is where multiple lightning serpents try to attack the guy. This is where he sends lightning, but lightning doesn't affect Asta. And of course, Asta's serpents wouldn't affect him. Mostly it'd be the paralyzed because of venom that has it in there. Asta says, "Too bad you're an idiot." Now, bonk. He bonks this guy in the head so hard, knocking him out. This is where they go through the Heart Kingdom. Of course, Asta is now abducted again in the water bubble when Asta was trying to drink juice. But yeah, of course, the guy kind of didn't want to piss off Asta because Asta can easily just cut through shit. But Asta was abducted again, and this is where he says, "You know what? I should just kill the fucking thing who's keep trying to abduct me." Lich says, "Yeah." Well, not Lich. Mostly Libby says, "Yeah, let's do it." Asta says, "There, go there." And of course, they're in a place where multiple water knights appear. Asta says, "Interesting. So that's what it is." Well, since there's an army in front of me, I should have my army in front of me to destroy anything. Got it? That's why Asta says summoning style all Serpents elements with darkness and light. This is where he sends multiple serpents all around him. But these serpents are so huge. This is where Asta says, "Attack!" This is where all of them run through the fade with the water knights. This is where, well, they're going straight towards what's it called, whatever her goddamn name is. She's in like this water place right now, sleeping and all that. This is where the water spirit tries to stop them, but all the water spirit just gets smashed to the freaking wall while multiple serpents are just rushing towards her. Well, the queen mostly. This is where they stop, and this is where they kind of just let Asta down. This is where Asta just dispersed the water. This is where Asta says, "Pathetic, water spirit. You truly are pathetic. You couldn't even stop my serpents from wrecking you. Well, too fucking bad. Don't care." This is where he meets the queen. Of course, this is where the others still meets the queen, but yeah. Of course, Nero wasn't with Asta because, yeah, she can't really be on top of Asta's head when Asta's snakes would legit detect her and try to eat her, but yeah. Because she's a fucking bird. But yeah, this is where, well, the others get there. They still talk to a queen. Of course, the queen talks about everyone's magical power. Now, this is where, well, the water spirit talks about how Asta is basically arcane level, or beyond arcane level, since he is not human most of the time. That's where the queen and even the water spirit kind of notices. Asta says, "I am not human, I am a freaking serpent." Well, royalty serpent, if that's what you want to talk about it. But most of Noelle, Junko, and Kurumi says, "Wait, royalty?" Asta says, "I should have kept that last part to myself." "Yes, royalty. I'm actually from the royal bloodline of the serpents, and that's why my whole magical power is so much stronger than half the other serpents." So yeah, that's why. Well, they say, "But you're royalty?" Noelle's face becomes so red because they're right now thinking dirty thoughts. Even Junko and, well, Kurumi. This is where Funo says, "Seriously, his good charms and also he's royalty." Fuck. Also says, "I'm not royalty in human status, I'm royalty in serpent status." So yeah, that's why I'm so blessed with so much mana. And can never be really stopped. But yeah, what is with the levels? This is where, well, the queen says, "Well, I think your level will be a little bit higher than arcane level. Your level will probably be god level." Asta says, "Yes, god level. I'm that arrogant that I want to just say god level right now." This is where she says, "Not close, demigod, I guess." This is where, well, she talked about Nero and the others, how levels and all that. But yeah, of course, they talk to the Wizard King, and of course, the Wizard King is in a lot of stress when Mamos does contact him. This is where, well, the Wizard King says, "Ooh, what kind of magic do you have, Queen, the Queen, the Heart Queen?" And this is where the Heart Queen talks about this, and this is where, well, they talk about the devil, and of course, where, well, Julius understands. That's where he does talk to his other magic knights, and with Asta about the devil, and of course, where, well, they have about 6 months entirely, a half a year, to kind of train and become stronger. Asta, who is basically half human, half serpent, and half other things, well, mostly has what's called demon brother, is just full demon, but yeah. But he has anti-magic, but whatever. This is where, well, Asta Nada, and this is where he goes to train. But we go into, well, what's it called? Time skip. But before that, Asta met someone new that was actually pretty kind of nice. She seems nice mostly. She was actually having red silk eyes that was similar towards a dragon. Her, what's it called, clothing was kind of like a red pattern cape and all that. And this is where, well, her name was Ignis, and of course she was kind of nice to Asta. Of course, for some reason they had a weird connection, but yeah. Of course, well, she was very powerful in fire magic, but yeah, she can send fire magic and other things. Of course, this is where Asta had a hood at that time, kind of meeting her. But yeah, but of course we go into a time skip of, well, the 6 months. Well, yeah, but I'm gonna leave it off here for, well, it's called. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it off here for part 4, but part 5 will be whenever, what's it called. But other than that, have a nice potato day, potato night, potato, and good night. Do I have enough time to stream? Maybe. Maybe I do. I don't know. Bye, potato.